Have you ever caught yourself snapping at the people you love, crying in the car, or lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering, what is happening? Who is this version of me, and is she here to stay? If you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, and your mood, sleep, and brain feel like they're on a constant roller coaster, you're not too sensitive, and you're definitely not just imagining it or losing it. And if you've ever thought, I don't recognize myself anymore, as your mood swings, your patience evaporates, or your memory and sleep change, this episode is for you. Welcome to Rooted Insights, a podcast for women in their second season of life who've spent years caring for everyone else. Kids, partners, work, households, holding it all together while quietly putting your own needs on the back burner. If you now find yourself wondering, what's next for me? What do I really want from my life now? And how do I start prioritizing myself without dropping everything else? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelley, a health and well-being specialist and mind-body expert, and here we blend grounded, science-informed practices into everyday life so we can better support our hardworking nervous systems, emotional health, and authentic selves, especially in this powerful mid-season of life. In recent episodes, we've talked about loss, midlife transitions as initiations, and redesigning friendships and community to better support your nervous system. Today, we're going to zoom in on something that quietly shapes all of that, your hormones and your midlife brain, and what's actually happening in your brain and body during perimenopause and menopause, why your emotions feel louder and can be more sensitive, and how to work with, not against, these changes, using nervous system aware, self-compassionate tools, instead of blaming your personality. Take a slow inhale and a slightly longer exhale. Notice how your body responds when you hear the words hormones and mood. Is it tense, curious, tired? Whatever is here gets to be here. So let's start with a pattern you might recognize. For most of your adult life, you may have been the steady one, the calm presence who could juggle a lot and still keep a sense of humor. You were used to pushing through. Over the last year or two, though, things may have quietly shifted. Your sleep feels more fragile. You wake in the middle of the night, sometimes hot, sometimes with your heart racing, sometimes with your mind looping on things that never used to bother you. Small things set you off: a messy kitchen, a partner or teenager's eye roll, a comment from a colleague. And suddenly you snap or burst into tears, then feel ashamed, embarrassed, and confused. Your focus is different. You walk into a room and forget why. Words slip away mid-sentence. And tasks that once felt effortless now take more energy and recovery time. Your body feels different too. More anxious some days. More flat and unmotivated on others. You might hear things like, you're just stressed. It's your age. That's just the way it is in midlife. Everyone's tired. Or even worse, you're being too sensitive. And then start to wonder if your personality is changing or if you're just losing it. Inside, you may be thinking, if this is just me, if my personality is changing, that's terrifying. And is this just how I am now? If any part of this feels familiar, take a breath. You are not alone, and you are not broken. Today, we'll talk about what's actually happening in your midlife brain and hormones, so you can respond with more support, compassion, and less self-blame. So let's keep this very simple and very human. Perimenopause and menopause are not just about your periods changing. They are major neuroendocrine transitions, meaning your hormones in your brain are reorganizing. A few key points for you to understand in plain language is that hormones like estrogen and progesterone don't just influence reproduction. They interact with brain chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which affect mood, sleep, anxiety, pain perception, and cognition. And during menopause, these hormones don't just gradually decline, they fluctuate, sometimes quite dramatically. That can create a sense of an emotional and physical roller coaster, especially if your system was already carrying a lot of stress, uncertainty, and overwhelm. Research suggests that this transition can temporarily increase symptoms like mood swings, irritability, anxiety, low mood, brain fog, and sleep disruption for many women. For some, it can also unmask underlying depression or anxiety that's been quietly being managed or suppressed. From a nervous system perspective, your stress response may fire more easily. You startle more, feel more overwhelmed by noise or clutter, or have a shorter fuse. And your sleep, which your nervous system relies on for regulation and brain repair, may become lighter or more fragmented, making everything feel harder the next day. And your system may be less able to buffer ongoing stressors, caregiving, work, relationship tension, so emotional responses that were once manageable now feel amplified and less easy to control. And here's an important nuance to understand. While hormones are a real physiological part of this story, they're not the only part. Your midlife brain is also processing years or decades of invisible labor and emotional suppression. It's processing losses and transitions, kids growing up, parents aging, relationships evolving and changing, and careers shifting. And those deeper questions of, if I'm honest, how do I actually want to live the rest of my life? So if you feel more emotional, more sensitive, or less tolerant of misalignment, it's not simply crazy hormones. It's your brain and body integrating a huge amount of change all at once. So now let's shift how we talk about this. Many women internalize a message that midlife mood changes means I'm falling apart. I should be stronger. Everyone else is coping better. What's wrong with me? Or this is just how it is. From a mind-body perspective, your increased sensitivity in this season is often information, not evidence you're failing. So when your system is more reactive to stress, it may be saying we cannot keep doing life this way. Something has to change. When you cry more easily, it may be that decades of old emotions are finally getting a chance to surface as your old coping strategies and mechanisms of overfunctioning, perfectionism, and people-pleasing are no longer physiologically supported and no longer fit. And when you feel deep fatigue and brain fog, it may just be your body insisting on rest and the support it has delayed for years. As we covered in previous episodes, your brain, thanks to neuroplasticity, is still capable of change in midlife and beyond, forming new pathways as you practice new habits of thought, behavior, well-being, and self-support. Sensitivity can be part of the signal that it's time to rewire some patterns, not to punish yourself for the ones you've used to survive so far. This is where self-compassion and personal well-being becomes a nervous system tool, not just a nice idea. Research suggests that self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness, recognizing your humanity, and being present with your experiences can actually soften the impact of perfectionism and chronic stress on mental health. So instead of, what's wrong with me, you might experiment with, given everything my body and brain are juggling right now, what kind of support would make the most sense in this situation for me right now? So here's a few practical ways to support your mood and brain in this season. None of these replace medical care, they're meant to complement it. Practice number 1, a 2-sentence self-check with your healthcare provider. If your mood, sleep, or cognition have changed significantly, it's important to speak with a qualified healthcare provider, ideally one who understands midlife hormones. To make it easier, you might prepare 2 sentences to take into that appointment. The first sentence could be something like, in the last however many months, my mood, sleep, focus has changed in these specific ways. Include brief, concrete examples. A second example sentence is that this is affecting my daily life in these specific ways, and then list them: work, relationships, your body, and basic functioning. You can even add, I'd like to understand how hormones, stress, and my nervous system might be playing a role in all of this, and what options or suggestions you have for me. This is you advocating for your whole self, not just your lab results. Never be afraid to ask even more questions if you feel like you're not getting a straight answer, or the answers you're getting feel unaligned with what your intuition is telling you. If necessary, get a second opinion and do more of your own research. Remember, this is your body, your experience, and your well-being that's at stake. So advocate for yourself the way you would for one of your kids or your best friend. Practice number 2, 1 daily nervous system pause. When your hormones and brain are already under extra load, your nervous system needs more micro rests, not fewer. So choose 1 tiny pause you can reasonably weave into most of your days. It could be a 60-second grounding breath before opening your email or walking through the front door. It could be a brief do-nothing stare out the window before tasks. Or it could be a hand on the heart or hand on your belly pause before you respond to a text or comment that triggers you. The point isn't perfection. It's giving your midlife brain little pockets of "I'm safe enough right now" throughout the day. Practice number 3. A thought reframe from forever to for now. Hormone-related mood symptoms often come with catastrophic thoughts. Things like, "I'll always feel this anxious," or "My brain is gone, I'll never be sharp again." This is just who I am now, moody, tired, and unreliable. So when you notice these things, try adding 2 words, right now. For example, I feel very anxious right now. My brain feels foggy right now. Then if it feels okay, ask yourself, given that this is where I am right now, what's one kind thing I can do? Rest? Ask for help? Step outside? Eat something nourishing? Watch a lighthearted show? Or schedule that doctor appointment? This shifts the story from permanent doom to present moment information, which is much easier for your nervous system and brain to work with. And as we close, you might carry 1 or 2 of these questions into your journal, a walk, or a quiet moment before bed. If I believe that my brain and hormones are just reorganizing, not collapsing, how would that change the way I talk to myself on hard days? And where have I been blaming my character, like lazy, too emotional, not strong enough, for things that might also be about midlife physiology and long-term stress? And what's one small, realistic way I'm willing to support my midlife brain and mood this week? A conversation with a provider or trusted mid-season friend, a daily pause, or a more compassionate inner voice. Remember, you are not too sensitive in some moral sense. You're a human woman in a profound season of change, with a nervous system, brain, and hormonal landscape that are all doing their best to help you adapt. If this conversation helped you feel a little more understood or a little less afraid of your own mood and mind, I'd love for you to keep walking with me here on Rooted Insights. Follow, like, and subscribe to the podcast, and if it feels supportive, share it with another mid-season woman who may benefit from these grounded, science-informed, honest, and heart-centered conversations. I'd also love to hear in the comments, what's one way your mood or brain has surprised you in this season? And what's one small act of support, medical, nervous system, or self-compassion that you're willing to experiment with in response? Your honest share might be exactly what another woman needs to remember that she's not going crazy. Her body and brain are asking for a different kind of care now. Remember, you're not behind. You're in a new season of your life, and your brain, your hormones, and your nervous system are all part of that story. You're allowed to support them now with information, with help, and with a lot more kindness than you were ever taught to give yourself. We're here rooting in together, one hormone wave, one breath, one gentle thought at a time. Until next time on Rooted Insights.